Okay, today I'm going to introduce you to sine, cosine, and tangent ratios. So we're going to define them first or talk about what they are. The sine ratio is the ratio of the length of the side opposite to whatever angle we're referring to, and I'll explain that more in a second. But sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, so sometimes, actually a lot of the time, you will hear it as so, ca, toa. I think that's the easiest way to remember the ratios. Okay, so, ca, toa. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and then tangent is opposite over adjacent. So let's just dive into some examples. I think that's the easiest way to kind of understand it. So this first one is asking you to write the trigonometric ratio in simplest form. So it's asking you for the sine of angle M. Okay, so I'm just going to shade in angle M right here. Okay, so it's asking you to write the sine ratio. Okay, so sine is opposite, where am I going to do this? Over hypotenuse. So if we were standing on angle M, opposite means like whatever is directly across, okay? Like whatever is directly opposite of the angle. So the side that's opposite of the angle is 16. And then the hypotenuse of the triangle never changes, right? When we have a right triangle, I'll highlight it. The hypotenuse is always the side that is connecting the legs. Remember, the legs make up the L, the right angle. The hypotenuse is always the side that connects them. Okay, it's always the longest side. So what I just highlighted is always the hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse. So 16 over 34, those are both divisible by 2. So that ratio would be 8 over 17. Okay, I'm going to come down here to D. I'll explain why in a second, but I'm going to do all the angle M ones first. So the cosine of angle M, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent means next to. Okay, so if you're standing next to someone, you're adjacent to them. So the adjacent side for angle M, okay, you're like, well, there's two that are next to it, and that's true, but this one is the hypotenuse, so 30 is the adjacent side. So it's 30 over 34, because the hypotenuse is always that side, so that reduces down to 15 over 17. Okay, then the next couple of questions ask us to write ratios, but it doesn't have angle M, it has angle L, so that's this one right down here. So when it asks you to write it in reference to angle L, we're going to do the side opposite of L, right? That's 30 over the side adjacent, which is 16, right? So according to L, this one is opposite. This is the hypotenuse. This is the side adjacent or next to. So we're going to write it, it's opposite over adjacent. So 30 over 16, which reduces to 15 over 8. Okay, and then the next one is the cosine of L. So that's ca, adjacent over hypotenuse. So the side adjacent to L is 16. The hypotenuse is 34. 16 over 34 can become 8 over 17. Okay, we're going to do those exact same, or that exact same process. Okay, but this time we're using this triangle. So I'll use a different color. Cosine of Z, right? Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the side adjacent is 12, and then the hypotenuse is 20.